So if you have been following developments in AI-powered coding tools, you probably already know that terminal-based assistants are becoming incredibly powerful. But what Google just did with Gemini CLI is honestly on another level. They integrated Gemini 3 Pro into the command line interface, and I have been testing it extensively over the past few days. Let me show you exactly what this means and why you should care about it. So first thing first, let me explain what Gemini CLI actually is for everyone who might be new to this. Gemini CLI is an open source tool that brings Google's Gemini model directly into your terminal. Think of it as having an incredibly smart AI assistant that lives right inside your terminal. You can ask it questions, generate code, debug issues, and even build entire projects without ever leaving your terminal window. What makes this particularly exciting is that it is completely free for personal use. You get 60 requests per minute and 1000 requests per day using your personal Google account. That is honestly more than enough for most development workflows. Now the big news here is the integration of Gemini 3 Pro. This is Google's most intelligent and capable model yet, and having it power your terminal command is genuinely game changing. Before I dive into all the new features, let me quickly show you how to get this set up on your machine. The installation process is super straightforward. You will need Node version 18 or higher installed on your system. Once you have that ready, open your terminal and run the npm install command with the global flag followed by Google Gemini/CLI. This will install the latest version globally on your machine. After the installation completes, you can simply type Gemini into your terminal to launch the CLI. On your first run, it will ask you to choose a color scheme. I personally prefer the dark theme because I spend most of my day in the terminal. Then it will prompt you to authenticate. I recommend using the login with Google option because it gives you access to the generous free tier I mentioned earlier. The authentication happens in your browser, so just follow the prompt and you will be good to go. Once you are authenticated, you will see the Gemini CLI interface ready to accept your commands. Now here is where things get really interesting. To enable Gemini Pro, you need to make sure you are running version 3.16 or later. You can check your version by typing Gemini-version. If you need to update, just run the npm install command again. Once you have the right version, type /settings into the CLI and toggle preview features to true. This enables Gemini 3 Pro as your default model. If you have a Google AI Ultra subscription or a paid Gemini API key, you get immediate access. For everyone else on the free tier, there is a wait list that you can join. But from what I have seen, approvals are happens pretty quickly. Let me talk about what makes Gemini 3 Pro so powerful in this context. The biggest upgrade is its ability to understand complex multi-step tasks and execute them with remarkable precision. This is not just about generating a single file of code anymore. We are talking about full project generation where you give it a high-level description and it builds out an entire working application with proper architecture, multiple files, and everything configured correctly. I tested this by asking it to create a 3-dimensional visual project. What it did was generate a complete standalone HTML file with 3JS integration, proper lighting system, interactive control, and optimized rendering. Everything was production ready right out of the gate. The whole process took maybe 3 minutes from start to finish. Compare that to the hours or even days it would normally take to scaffold a project like that from scratch, and you start to understand the productivity gains we are talking about here. Another feature that I have been using constantly is the visual to working app conversion. This is absolutely mind-blowing. You can literally sketch out a user interface on paper or in any drawing app. Take a screenshot or photo of it and drag that image directly into your terminal. Gemini 3 Pro analyzes the visual layout, identify all the UI components like buttons and input fields and navigation elements, and then generate the complete HTML, CSS, and JavaScript needed to run that sketch into a functional application. I tested this with the dashboard layout I had drawn on my iPad, and within minutes I had a working prototype with responsive design and proper styling. The natural language to shell command translation is another feature that saves me so much time every single day. Instead of having to remember complex terminal syntax or searching through documentation, I can just describe what I want to do in plain English. For example, I can say something like find all JavaScript file modified in the last week and show me their sizes, and Gemini 3 Pro will translate that into the proper shell commands with all the right flags and parameter. It even explains what each part of the command does, which is great for learning. One thing that really impressed me is how it handled debugging and troubleshooting. When something goes wrong in your project, you can describe the error or paste in the error message. The Gemini Pro will analyze your code base, identify the root causes, and suggest specific fixes. It can even coordinate between multiple tools and services. I had an issue with the cloud deployment recently, and it walked me through the entire debugging process, checking logs and configuration, and ultimately identify a networking issue that I would have spent hours tracking down manually. Document generation is another area where this tool shines. As a developer, we all know that writing documentation is important but also incredibly time consuming. With Gemini 3 Pro in the CLI, you can point it at your code base and ask it to generate comprehensive documentation. It analyzes your functions, understands the parameters and return values, and produces well organized documentation that actually makes sense. This is perfect for open source project or team collaboration where good documentation is essential but nobody has time to write it. Now let me talk about some of the user experience improvement that came with this update. The interface has received a major overhaul that makes working in the terminal so much smoother. They have eliminated the flickering and bouncing that used to happen when the model was thinking. The display is now stable and polished. You can even use your mouse to navigate through prompts, which might sound like a small thing, but it genuinely makes the workflow faster and more intuitive. There is also a sticky header section that keeps important context visible during complex interactions. When Gemini is executing multiple steps or asking for confirmations, you always know what is happening because the relevant information stays at the top of your screen. The loading indicators have been improved too, so you can clearly see when the CLI is waiting for your input versus when it is processing something in the background. Extensions are a huge part of what makes Gemini CLI so powerful now. Think of extensions as ways to connect different tools and services directly into your CLI workflow. There is now an extension store where you can browse and install various integrations. For example, there is an extension called Juice, which is an autonomous coding assistant that works in the background. You can offload repetitive tasks to Juice while you focus on the more important work. It can clone repositories, install dependencies, fix bugs, and even submit changes to new branches. Another cool extension is CodeWiki CLI, which was just released by Google. This turns your entire codebase into a searchable wiki. It scans all your files and generates up-to-the-date documentation automatically. Whenever you need to understand how something works, you can just query CodeWiki and get intelligent context-aware responses. This is incredibly useful when you are working on large code bases or joining a new project where you need to get up to speed quickly. The free tier access is honestly one of the best part about this. Google is giving individual developer access to Gemini 2.5 Pro with a 1 million token context window at zero cost. That massive context window means it can understand your entire code base at once, which leads to much better suggestions and more accurate code generation. If you want to get started with this right now, head over to your terminal and run the npm install command I mentioned earlier. The whole setup process takes less than 5 minutes. Once you are in, I recommend exploring the slash commands. Type slash help to see all the available commands. Try slash setting to customize your experience. And definitely experiment with the extensions by typing slash extensions list. In my testing, I have found that Gemini CLI with Gemini 3 Pro is genuinely competing with some of the paid AI coding assistant out there. The fact that it is open source and free make it accessible to everyone, which I think is fantastic for developer community. Whether you are building web application or working on data analysis projects or just need help with terminal commands, this tool can definitely speed up your workflow. Alright, so that's it from the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.